Hey everyone, I'm DnD Doge, and I read the cringiest and creepiest D&D horror stories so you don't have to. Any good tabletop RPG campaign relies on good players, a good DM, and most of all, a good theme and story. Though sometimes, a game's theme and the player's reaction to it can make the experience less than enjoyable, much like the examples in these next two D&D horror stories. But first, I moved my house again, but somehow that dang algorithm dragon has found me yet again, and only your comments, likes, and subscriptions can help to power my shields to keep him at bay. So please, help Doge not become dragon kibble. But with that out of the way, let's hop right into these stories. I played in a game full of edgy teenagers, and, well, there's a reason I only just now remembered it. By Reddit user, The Silent Observer. Yo, someone told me you guys would be interested in this, and I wager they're correct. High school. I don't know about anyone else, but personally, I'd give it a 3 out of 10. Too much Axe body spray. In hindsight, I'm pretty sure they used the stuff to cover up the stench of depression, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, it was high school, and I'd gotten invited to a D&D game. Even worse, no one at the table, including myself, was mentally stable. The game consisted of 4 players: myself, a younger brother and older sister, who I'll refer to as Rar and Dizzy, and our dungeon master. Let's just lay out how in shambles this group was already. I had a condition that made it so I constantly felt like I had a scalding hot metal spike stuck in my skull, leading to many other problems, including severe sleep deprivation. Rar, the sanest of us, literally looked like one of those 2009 goth ravers, even without the makeup. And due to the monumental slow-motion train wreck his and Dizzy's family was, he had a fair amount of everything issues. Dizzy herself actually looked fairly normal, but had all of the issues of Rar. I don't know the details, but she'd been hit harder by the aforementioned train wreck, and while normally she'd be pretty normal, I eventually caught on that it was mostly a front to cover it all up, which I won't go into details of. And then there's our DM. Listen, I was friends with the guy. I'm sure there was a reason, but I don't remember why, due to the blur this entire time period was. I remember very few consistent things about him, but he looked like a stick figure redneck who had spent way too long staring at a brick wall because one of his friends said that if he stared at it long enough, he could see Jesus. Half the time, he'd speak completely normally, but then, even out of game, sometimes he'd start to roleplay and talk in this uncannily sweet voice, usually talking about some absurd fantasy. I remember distinctly that one time around the table, we were talking about something, and out of nowhere, he starts talking in that sweet voice, saying how he has the soul of a female demon named Lucifer, who was punished by God for loving another woman, and is now on the earth in a male body, in search of her lover. A good chunk of you just laughed or chuckled, but this was played completely straight, and because of that, the thing I remember most about it was the deafening silence that fell over the table, because no, we didn't know how to react either. And yeah, red flag, right? Here's the deal. High school was earth-shatteringly terrible for me, so the least of my worries was a friend who thought he was lesbian Satan. Besides, around 80% of the time, they were all genuinely good company, and a welcome break from everything. So, of course, we gotta take this group and make a D&D campaign out of it. I played a human fighter who was a town guard from Waterdeep. I got famous for using buckets in battle, and that's pretty much it. I legit don't remember anyone else's character's details, besides what I'll get into later. We really didn't play a roleplay heavy game, despite myself being into that. It was mostly go here, kill that, repeat. Not to say that there wasn't RP, but compared to the games I'm in now, it was pretty much nothing. Kinda wish it stayed that way. Now, you're gonna have to bear with me, because I do not remember the location or context for this, but here goes. At some point, we're resting somewhere. At an inn, I think. And some RP is happening with one of the PCs, and someone they were in a relationship with. I think it was Rar's character. Anyways, the two end up having some intimate time, and I'm thinking something along the lines of, thank goodness the DM is keeping it PG. Then the DM says, quote, let's roll for pregnancy. Because that's a thing, I guess. The NPC is very pregnant, with twins. It turns out Rar has a guardian angel who is also his uncle or dad, and the guy drops in and out of the blue, god rays and all, to proclaim his son's successful procreation. Then, the dude gets the girl drunk and uses magic to age up the babies several times to speed up the process. This is highly abridged, so let me clarify. This went on for at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes of laughing from the DM, awkward laughing from everyone else, and silence from me. I don't remember the exact details, and I don't want to. In fact, I tried to block this out of my head so much that I'm 90% sure there was something about incest in there, and failed to recall how it was involved. That celestial uncle man. A Slaaneshi angel, if there ever was one. Anyways, after that session, I texted the DM and got into a rather heated argument over the entire thing, and how it was handled. It was not a constructive conversation, and pretty much ended in the DM saying that it was a joke, chill. That confused me, since he had played it completely straight, and even seemed to be into it. But next session rolled around, and the entire ordeal was retconned. Next session, you say? I hear you ask. Yeah, I don't know either. I found out my character had been kidnapped randomly when I joined in, just scooped away in his sleep. Apparently there were no skill checks to be made by anyone in the party, even the ones on watch, and I was just plainly informed that I'd been kidnapped. You want to know how dumb I was back then? I only now, this very day, realize this was the DM getting back at me. I sat through that entire session, wondering when I'd get to do anything. That moment never came. I may have been dumb as bricks, but even that barren rock of a brain knew when it wasn't having fun. Another session came and went, and I still wasn't able to do anything, despite my inquiries about a one-on-one. Luck was in the wind though, and real-life stuff was coming up for everyone, and we were lucky if we managed to arrive for D&D at all. I could also see that my fellow companions weren't enjoying the game as much anymore either. So, on the third week of not being able to pull everyone together for D&D, I suggested to the DM that we just cancel until everyone managed to sort out all of the stuff high school was throwing at us. He agreed, and thank God he did, because that decision completely murdered the game. No one even brought it up after that, save for a tie-in with another D&D game that had been made when people were having fun in this one. I asked that fully knowing if the DM said yes, it would kill the game too. A pretty mean move in most situations, but I think in this case, it was best for everyone. Last I heard, DM was going off with 7 other people to rent a house, and had a strict if you can't pay rent, you're out policy, which I didn't believe he was stable enough for. Haven't seen or heard from him since. Roar cut contact soon after, and I know Dizzy is doing better as well. I made an almost full recovery from that awful time period, and wouldn't put up with this BS in any D&D game of mine now. That's where it stands. Best of luck to him. Hope the DM got the help he needed, despite his unique nature. He was still a very kind person at the end of the day. Mostly just had to get this down as a way to give myself closure on the matter. So hopefully, after I raise a glass to this and let a few weeks pass, I'll have forgotten all about it once more. To the terrible game, ya glorious fex. Well, that was an interesting read. I hope that the DM was kidding when he said that he thought he was a lesbian Satan, because if he wasn't, he probably should have gotten some help. Also, I have to ask again, what the hell is with some cringy and creepy DMs having an obsession with pregnancy? Can someone answer me that? I swear, about 1/3 of the creepy DM stories I read involve it in some way. Anyways, let's move on to the next story, before I become insane like that DM. The One Shot from Hell, literally, by Reddit user Errant Lobster. This all literally just happened as I'm writing this, so it's both A, fresh in my mind, and B, still processing, because holy fuck. Apologies for the scattered conversational tone as a result. Warning, casual Nazism. Yep, we're fucking going there, people. Now's your chance to bow out. Don't say you weren't warned. So, it all began one quiet day on Discord. Someone I was friends with, note the tense here, invited me to join a one-shot they were planning to run. They'd be running for a bunch of their other friends, who they do a regularly scheduled game with, and they wanted to let me join in. Now, this is someone known for being, eccentric, and somewhat random, so I thought I knew what I was getting into. I thought I was going to just have a silly, fun time. Friend, reader, fellow human on the other side of this digital exchange. I had no fucking clue what was coming my way. The specifics of the game aren't important. TLDR for anyone curious. Level 17 5e DnD one-shot. You get your choice of a bunch of bonuses that'll make your character overpowered in some way. Here's what matters. There was no session 0. None. I had no idea what the one-shot would be against, or what people would be playing as, or anything really. I had to go into this completely fucking blind. We didn't even get content warnings or any sort of quote, "Hey, are you comfortable with XYZ topics?" questions. Woe betide anyone who has personal trauma. This game will blindside you with it. But again, one shot. I thought I could trust this person. Our cast of characters. Our DM, someone with a penchant for running by the seat of her pants and embracing chaos, for better or worse. An enabler, hereafter Archer, who I didn't know before signing up for this thing. Another enabler, hereafter Chariot, who I also didn't know before signing up. The problem, hereafter Awful, who I also didn't know prior to this, and now wish I'd never met. And finally, me. The session starts with a whole lot of waffling around, as we all trickle in and deal with Roll20 technical issues. We slowly take stock of everyone's characters. We briefly get into a little tiff about whether human characters are boring. My take, not that it matters, is that the less weird your character's race is, the more interesting their backstories are likely to be. And right away, I'm oil and water with Awful, who insist that human characters are inherently always boring, and at least cat girls, blah blah blah. For the record, the reason character races even came up was because I revealed my character was a variant human, and this made Awful go on a little rant about how human characters suck and are boring. I came back in kind of with more or less what I said above, because I'm not one to take a punch and not get a little jab in myself. That should have been my first red flag, but I filed it away as a yellow card instead. I should have trusted my gut, but hindsight's 20/20 and all that. Just before the game starts, the DM wants to know how we all died, because this is an isekai, I guess. I was never told this, but in retrospect, I guess it makes sense. See, I was invited to the game and started making my character before I was told. Well, much of anything really. Only much later do I learn it's an isekai, not directly from the DM either, but rather by seeing the name of the Roll20 group. I'd intended to make a character native to whatever setting we were starting in, but that clearly wasn't in the cards at this point. Whatever, it's a survival one-shot. I say to myself as a survival mantra. The game starts finally, over an hour after the starting time. People have come and gone as their real-life obligations caught up with them. I'm, at this point, used to this from DM's games, so I don't even register this as a yellow card, let alone a red flag. As the nicknames imply, Archer's character is an archer, and Chariot's character, well, they don't ride a chariot, they ride a dragon, but you get the idea. Awful decided to play a bard, which, you know, I'm gonna call this yellow card number 2. Bringing a bard to a one-shot isn't necessarily bad, but given their stellar personality so far, it's not a great sign. Like, if someone's going to do some fucking bullshit and blame it on, it's just what my character would do, bard is right up there next to rogue in my list. Yellow card number 3 would be the fact that they were playing a vampire from the lower planes on top of the bard class in a one-shot. So right away, while we're not guaranteed to have awful things happen, I'm nervous. Optimistic, but nervous. Boy, howdy did my optimism fucking evaporate real fucking fast. Start of session. We all wake up on a crashing airship. There are 2 fortresses below us, firing cannons at each other. Huh, weird. Well, it was nice not knowing any of you. Boom. Oh wait, we're not dead. We crawl to our feet in the wreckage. Somehow, nobody on the ship has died as far as we can tell, and we hear groaning and shuffling outside the hall. The ship is surrounded by Draugr. Wait, scratch that. The ship is surrounded by Nazi Draugr. Red flag number 1, ahoy. Now look, handled respectfully and tactfully, Nazis, undead or otherwise, can be a good antagonist force for people to fight against. Surprising the party with them with no advance warning, content warnings, session 0, X card, etc. is, not respectful or tactful, in my honest opinion. It doesn't help that, as mentioned at the start, DM has a habit of just fucking doing things, because chaos is fun to them. Normally, not a problem. With Nazis, it's kind of a fucking problem. Whatever, I say to myself again, it's just a one-shot. So, my character, who should be noted, is both a paladin and apparently isekai'd into the paladin life, before isekai'ing again into an airship, has multiple reasons for wanting these things dead on sight. Nazi, undead, attacking the crew of the ship, giving him opportunity for a glorious battle and glorious victory. Yeah, my man is on board with smiting these things deader than dead. The following is a verbatim quote. Guten Tag. I, the great vampire queen, have ascended from the lower planes to lead the glorious charge against the despicable enemy, the foul astral commies. Join me on my crusade to cleanse the land eastward, loyal soldiers of the Reich. Hopefully, you now understand exactly why I've nicknamed this person Awful. Up goes red flag number 2. I'm already very uncomfortable. Chariot, in character, mentions that he too is uncomfortable with this. Only in character though. Awful responds by saying, quote, Jesus, chill, it's just a game. Also, I hate commies more, so it's fine. Red flags are just going up left and right now. So, we have someone joking about invading Poland at the head of an army of Nazis. Undead Nazis, sure, but within a few seconds, they're talking German at them and playing Nazi marching songs. It's just a game though, and I hate commies more, so it's fine. I didn't stay long after this. Basically, I took a few minutes to just process what the fuck was happening in front of my goddamn eyeballs. Then, said flat out, I'm uncomfortable with this, and, quote, Bruh, don't be so pitsy, it's not 1950. We aren't killing Jews, so it's fine, is Awful's response, while Chariot says, quote, or go with what you want, Awful is a chaotic person. Meanwhile, Archer's trying to diffused the situation with gems like, quote, "I know my friends and parents hate Nazi jokes or memes of any kind, not me." And lest you think DM's gonna be left out of the mess, they said, quote, "Yeah, Awful was an extremely chaotic person, so it's fine." And then I fucking dipped. Dropped out of the server and the Roll20 without even an adios, because fuck that. So that's the story of why I don't trust someone anymore, and am unsure if I want to still be her friend. I haven't decided yet. Might try to reach out to her and try to, patiently explain to her what a fucking train wreck that all was. But I don't know, Reddit. I just don't know. All I know is that I couldn't get out of that situation fast enough. I'm still in shock. Hopefully, someone gets something out of this. I just needed to put it somewhere so I could put it behind me. So here it is, in all of its ignominy. Thanks for reading this long, rambling mess. I need to clear my mind. Well, that was quite the story. I can understand wanting to put Nazis in your tabletop RPGs as bad guys, so the players can go all Wolfenstein on them. But for a player to want to lead them is just... what? I don't blame OP for noping the hell out of that game with the swiftness that they did. Anyway, I think we need a palate cleanser after that story, and to bring the whimsy levels up a bit. So, here is some footage of cats. There, that's better. Do you have a story that you would like to share with the world through a Doge reading it? If so, feel free to post it in the comments, on the channel subreddit, or even just at me on Twitter. As always, I appreciate all of you, and I hope that these stories help you to have a newfound appreciation for your current games. Until next time.